You can name your habits, you can recognize your patterns, but when the moment comes to choose for yourself, you freeze. You wait for someone else's reaction. You search for the answer that will keep the room calm. And somewhere between what you feel and what you finally say, your real answer disappears. There is a version of you that rarely says exactly what it means. It edits every sentence. It scans every room. It calculates who you need to become before you even walk in. Most people never notice the cost. You notice it after the conversation ends, when you realize that nothing real about you made it into the room. You do not explode. You do not create scenes. You disappear in plain sight, one small concession at a time. It begins with a smile, a nod, the safe answer, the sentence nobody will challenge. Over time, you become the person who is easy to trust, the person who never makes things difficult, the person who absorbs tension before anyone else has to feel it. People call you calm, reliable, adaptable, but somewhere beneath that role is a question you may have stopped asking. What did I actually want to say? It is late in the afternoon. Your conference badge hangs from your neck. The coffee in your hand has already gone cold. You stand in a corridor between sessions while people gather in small groups around you. Laughter rises and falls. Opinions move quickly from person to person. You remain near the edge, close enough to be included, but never fully inside. Then someone asks for your opinion about a decision that could change the direction of the entire project. The answer appears immediately. It is clear, specific, sharper than anything you have said all week. For a moment, you feel it rise in your chest. Then the editing begins. You imagine who might disagree. You picture the silence that could follow. You calculate how your words might change the atmosphere. By the time the answer reaches your mouth, almost nothing is left. You offer something neutral, balanced, safe. Nobody objects. The conversation continues without interruption. Others fill the space, and the sentence you almost said fades before it ever becomes real. Your body remains still. Your coffee remains untouched, but your mind records every word you removed. When the group moves on, you are the last person left in the corridor, quietly holding together a piece nobody asked you to protect. Perhaps this is not only politeness, perhaps it is a pattern of adaptation. You agree with the strongest voice. You soften your opinions. You step back so that other people can remain comfortable. In meetings, you take notes instead of taking space. When tension appears, your first instinct is to remove it. You become the person others confide in, but rarely the person who risks being fully seen. Each moment seems insignificant. One softened opinion, one preference left unspoken, one boundary moved slightly further away, but the cost accumulates. Your needs become harder to recognize. Your preferences lose their edges. Even when you are alone, you may find yourself rehearsing how to sound harmless, how not to disappoint, how not to become a problem. This pattern may have begun as protection. At some point, approval may have felt like safety. Being agreeable may have helped you avoid conflict, rejection, or emotional distance. You learned to read people quickly, to anticipate what they wanted, to adjust before anyone had to ask. It became a skill, but a skill that once protected you can eventually begin to erase you. The more carefully you manage other people's discomfort, the less room remains for your own experience. You become so effective at preventing disruption that you lose access to the part of you capable of disrupting anything, even when it matters. Later, the unsaid sentence returns. It repeats in your mind while you walk home, lie in bed, or prepare for the next conversation. You know what you wanted to say. You simply did not allow it to exist between you and another person. And when this happens often enough, the problem becomes larger than silence. Decision-making begins to change. Every choice passes through the same hidden filter. Who might this make uncomfortable? What will keep everything calm? Which answer will expose me the least? You search for your own preference and find only predictions about other people's reactions. That is when self-trust begins to weaken, not because you have no instincts, because you have trained yourself to interrupt them before they can become visible. When the role is removed, when the badge is gone, the room is empty, and nobody needs anything from you, another question appears. Who remains when I stop managing everyone else's feelings? You may know exactly what other people need. You may sense the atmosphere before anyone speaks. You may recognize tension faster than everyone in the room, but your own wants may feel distant, blurred, or strangely difficult to name. You have spent so much time mapping other people that your own position has disappeared from the map. This does not mean the pattern defines you. It may simply describe one strategy you learned and repeated until it became automatic. And automatic patterns rarely announce themselves. They appear in a fraction of a second. The urge to soften, to edit, to smile, to replace the true sentence with the safest one. Most people only notice the silence after the moment has passed, but noticing the pattern, even once, changes something. For a brief moment, you are no longer completely inside it. You can see the mechanism before it finishes its work. That gap may be small, but it matters. The next time you feel yourself reaching for the answer that will keep everyone comfortable, pause. Do not force yourself to speak. Do not turn the moment into a performance of confidence. Simply ask, what is the sentence I am about to erase? Let yourself hear it. Notice what happens in your body when it appears. Notice whose reaction you immediately imagine. Notice what you believe might happen if the sentence became real. You do not need to change the pattern in that moment. First, observe it. That is the experiment. For the next 24 hours, notice every moment in which your first answer is replaced by a safer one. You do not have to say the original sentence aloud. Just write it down. At the end of the day, look at what was removed, not to judge yourself, to see the shape of the pattern more clearly. Perhaps the problem was never that you had nothing to say. Perhaps you became highly skilled at making sure nobody had to hear it. InnerCodex does not claim to tell you who you are. It offers a first hypothesis, a possible map of the patterns that may influence how you respond, decide, and relate to others. You can explore your free archetype map through the link in the description at InnerCodex.app. Do not treat it as a verdict. Treat it as a place to begin observing.